Hello and welcome to Bowser Sports. And today we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. They were embarrassed in back-to-back home games coming out of the Four Nations tournament on Saturday, losing to the Washington Capitals 8-3, and Sunday afternoon at home, losing to the New York Rangers 5-3. It was an embarrassing performance by two specific groups. Goaltending with Alex Novakovic and Joel Blomqvist. The Capitals and Rangers scored 13 goals on 47 shots. That is a 28% save percentage. Shooting percentage. And that equates to a 72% save percentage. Now, one of the goals in the Rangers game today, as this is being recorded Sunday evening, was an empty net goal. So maybe the save percentage is a little bit higher, but you get the point. It is embarrassing to say the least. Those goaltenders, while they are not getting support from their defensemen or the terrible turnovers from Erik Karlsson especially, bad pinches from Ryan Graves and P.O. Joseph and Karlsson and Letang. I mean, the whole decor. It was so bad they played Ryan Shea today on right defense over Vinny Desjardins. Again, a left shot on the right side. It's not going to work in today's NHL unless you're a really good player when you're on your offside. And so the Penguins definitely just did not show up today in this game or even over the weekend. And so that leads me to is what are the Pens going to do? They really need to stop hedging this whole thing and any promises or not or respect or not about Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and Letang's time here. I get it. Uh, Huge fan of those guys, but we got to stop seeing the hedging. It's not going to get the team where it needs to be, and it's actually making it worse for the final few years that you will have with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. And I want to kind of first start off here with, what do you do? You see Erik Karlsson in the Four Nations for Sweden. He's all over the ice. He's playing really good defense. He's making smart plays. He's making plays, and his decision making's mostly on point that whole tournament. Obviously just the 3 games they played, but he played well. And then you see what he did this weekend. It makes you wonder what is going on between the Pittsburgh Penguins coaching staff, players, and Erik Karlsson. There's something going on. A player of that nature on the same type of sheet of ice in an international event looks one way, and granted, he's playing alongside a quality team, quality, all-star level players, right? And with his, Sweden team, but he was playing against equally quality players in the U.S., Canada, and Finland. So, that kind of balances out because, in the NHL, you're not going to have superstar teams, and so the level of play is going to be a little bit different. And so there is definitely something going on with Karlsson. I strongly believe he's not able to think the game the way Mike Sullivan wants him to be playing on the ice. It's not his natural instinct, and as a result, I believe that Karlsson is hesitating in spots and other spots. He's being aggressive and making the wrong decisions. I think he's in a spot that he can't win from that perspective. I am not saying he's doing this on purpose. It is very suspect that a player like this can't adjust, basically 2 years into his tenure now with the Penguins and can't do that. So we're going to see, but I strongly have the opinion that if Kyle Dubas gets any kind of trade offer for Karlsson. He needs to entertain it and present it to Karlsson to move on. I think this is just not a good marriage for either party, and Karlsson needs to go. The Penguins need to move him. He's playing too high a risk of hockey. He's not able to adjust, and this team does not have the talent to support his level of play and his level of decision making with or without the puck. Now, as we talked about trades, and I had mentioned before in a previous episode, but this is going to be Rickard Rakell's highest and his peak value. As a rental, as a short-term asset for this team. He's probably got 1 year left. Maybe the rest of his contract, he has good seasons left, but you don't know, especially after the first couple years. So, and being a $5 million player, he fits pretty well into the cap this year for a team potentially looking to, make that run. And so there's probably more value right now moving Rakell at a cheaper, quality goal scoring winger who can fit in your top two lines on a winning team. And so Kyle Dubas needs to do everything he can to strike with that value. We've already seen Dubas move Jake Gensel, kind of against what Crosby wanted to see happen. But you know what? It is time to get younger and bigger and nastier, and the team needs to get pieces to help make that happen. I'm not saying, the type of trade needs to be draft pick related. I believe this needs to be something where, maybe the main piece is a number one, but they've got to find someone to help fit components of the team they do not have. They do not have a big, young, power forward type player who is physical. And so they need to hopefully identify that here with the March 7th trade deadline coming up. And so this has got to be a move, if it's made, that is more than just the centerpiece being a first round pick. It's got to be something that immediate. And it obviously does not need to be another forward, right? It could also be, let's be honest, a top four left defenseman. This team is getting killed with teams attacking the left side of their ice. P.O. Joseph, Ryan Shea, Ryan Graves, Peterson's gone, Pickering's in the minors. They really need to figure out, Matt Grzelcyk, I think, is a short-term guy and got hurt today, so that might hurt his value if he's got a concussion. So we'll see there, but the Pens definitely need help on the left side of the fence. They desperately need NHL level play there. I don't think they can go in to the remainder of the season with what they have. I think Colin Pickering is Owen Pickering is probably more of a third pairing guy. I don't think he's he needs to grow into that role that I think with his body size and get stronger, and maybe he is that second pairing guy, but he's definitely not right now physically there as a top four defenseman. And so Pens should be wise to move him into a third line role, hopefully soon, to get him up here. And if that means Ryan Graves sitting in his $5 million, that's what's gotta happen here. So, and then the big thing here is Dubas has to figure out the goaltending. Jari's in the minors. Ned's not it. Blomqvist clearly, for some reason, is struggling stopping the pucks in the NHL versus what he's done in the AHL. So there's some kind of nervous energy, I think, with Blomqvist between the two leagues. Or it's just the shooters are better and he's just not stopping the puck, and maybe he won't be able to. But you'd like to see him with a better team defense, and especially defensemen. The team's not moving people away from the net. We saw it over the weekend with Tom Wilson just having his way with the Penguins on Saturday. Nothing really changed again on Sunday here against the Rangers. They just were able to charge their way into the middle of the ice, creating traffic, um, with their chances. But again, some of the shots today, just you can't have it unscreened. 20 to 50 feet shots. You got to stop them. Doesn't matter. You got to stop it, and it just didn't happen today with Blomqvist, and it didn't happen for either him or Ned over the weekend. And so, the last thing I want to wrap up here then is with, Sullivan forcing his hand. He's gonna play the veterans. Matt Nieto can go on waivers. Him going on waivers and going to the AHL if unclaimed doesn't impact your salary cap because he's being paid less than the minimum amount that you can get impact with the cap. So because it's over $1 million, I think it's 1.25 or something like that now with the salary cap amount. And so Nieto is an easy one. From the Acciari perspective, I think there may be a market for him. I think it's in the Pens' best interest to try to move him. He's got a $2 million salary for next year. His quality of play is just not there. He's a team warrior, right? He's gonna go out on the ice and drop and block shots. But if that's all you can do is get down on the penalty kill and block shots, you're really not an NHL player. And so, all respect to him and what he's done in the NHL, but Noel Acciari is not the answer for the Penguins, and they need to get players up here who can skate, make plays, and help you win games beyond taking a big thudding slap shot up from Ovechkin twice. And so there are young players in the minors the Pens have. They got Tristan Draws as center, left winger. They've got Rutger McGorty, who's a left wing, right wing. They've got Ville Koivunen, who can play the left side or the right side. They got Vasily Ponomarev, who can play center, left wing, sometimes even right. So they've got flexibility with players in the minors at forward. The Pens need to get these guys up here and get things moving along. And so we'll see what happens. I don't think you're going to see anything immediate. The trade deadline isn't until March 7th, and most likely, the only real trade chip that they have is Raquel at this point. I think that's going to take up to the last moment, I believe, is what will happen, is they'll wait, probably to that trade deadline day and move, if they can, move Raquel for a young player and a draft pick, be it a top two line, hopefully winger, who needs to change the scenery, but has skill and has produced, but it may be a struggle in the last year or two. And then, or, maybe they look for a left defenseman who maybe is more defensive and not as an offensive player. And the Pens desperately need, to be honest with you, a defensive defenseman who can clear the net for their goalies, make a crisp first pass, and not be a wreck on the ice defensively. They know their role and they stick to it, almost like a Brian Dumoulin type of player. They need to find the next Brian Dumoulin. That's hard to do. A lot to ask for with his pedigree, winning back-to-back cups, playing alongside Letang. But it is something that's needed. So, I think anyone who's talking about playoffs now, beyond those players in the locker room, is what they should be doing. It should always continue to focus on the next game and the win. Your coaches probably similarly, but your GM has the power to force your coach to make some changes, and that should begin with Matt Nieto and Noel Acciari being, waived, traded, whatever it takes. They need to move out, and these young guys need to be up here and start to change the lineup around as a result of all those young guys getting to the NHL. So with that, thank you for listening to today's episode on the Penguins and the state of the team. If you like this, please give us a like. Hopefully, you'll give us more time as we continue to, build this channel and the content within it. So hopefully you'll like to subscribe. Always please leave a comment. Dialogue back and forth, always welcome, and recommendations there as well. So, and with that, please keep your head up and stick on the ice.